Hello everybody, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. I'm going to be coloring Mononoke. So I did a little bit of some work on her skin. It's still a little mottled, but there's some saturation to kind of fill in some of the blanks. And once I add in the white highlights, I think that'll be fine. So she's a little darker than I like around the shadow areas, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not like I have to start over. So toss that in right there really quick. I'm going to go ahead and warm up a little bit and throw down another layer of shade on the background just to kind of get going here. Let me go ahead and share this link. All right. So using my W3, I'm going to do another pass. I'll just start up here. And you can see since it's dried, you can use the exact same brush you used the first time and create a second shade layer with it. I don't want to spend a ton of time noodling on this because, like, again, the background is going to be really worked out digitally. All I'm really trying to do is just make this look kind of nice. And if I can use some of this for that painting process, great, but I don't plan on it. It's really just so the person who owns the commission will have something nicer to hang on the wall with this. I probably could paint the whole background in Copic, but it takes an awful long time. And the kind of mood lighting you can get digitally is just far stronger. So with the Copics, I tend to try to not add any real like concentrated light sources. I try to do sort of a basic all over lighting. Like I kind of pick an area, like, you know, something like coming this way or coming that way or maybe under. But I don't tint it. I don't, you know, work colored shade into the art. I'll do all that digitally. It's just a process I've worked out. And then I can play with light a lot better versus trying to mix, you know, the media here. And a lot faster too. I colored the entire Darth Maul piece with Copics just to see how long that would take, and it took too long to warrant. I can't be spending 12 hours uh, coloring one piece before I even uh, scan it in. So it's just not an effective use of my time. So I really care about quality. So if I can achieve the same or better in less time, then I don't spend more time on a project just because I get bragging rights. People pay for quality; they don't pay for my time. I could spend a lot of time making bad art. We've all been there, especially when you're starting out, right? Like, you spend a lot of time making bad art. It's tons of it. It's effortlessly. Just look at all that bad art. Your parents tell you how awesome it is that you can just do anything. You know, eventually you get to the point where you realize your worth and you want to produce good art. So I found that time does not actually equal better results. Quality is something that you can't teach. You have to kind of hone it, and you can achieve quality. You can achieve quality results in 12 hours. You can achieve quality results in 1 hour, depending on what you're going for. And believe me, I've taken the longest path with my career. Out of all my friends, I've taken longer than anyone I know to get on with my art and life and stuff. So if I'm telling you to not worry about it, then believe me, it's saying something. I'm going to use the W3 to blend out the 5 a little bit. Just want to create a little bit of contrast around some of these edges. You don't have to blend every edge, just where you want to soften it. It's no different than in watercolor where you lay down some water on a piece of dry paper, and then you can lay some watercolor down on dry paper, and it leaves a hard edge, and then you can use water to lift it back out. It's very similar. And people ask me what sets to get and stuff with Copics. I think I'd recommend starting out with watercolor first. First off, it's cheaper. You get student grade watercolors are cheaper than Copics. And you only need like 4 or 6, colors. And learn to make a lot of your colors because I make a lot of things with these Copics. Even though I've come to pick and choose, a few colors that get me there without having to do a ton of it, there's still a lot of color blending and color making. And when I first started off, I had nothing, so I had to make a lot of colors with what I had. And then I found out through that process which colors that would be beneficial to me having around, or the kinds of colors. There we go. You just got a little bit more definition there. It's a little bit more three-dimensional. Not a ton, just a little bit. Need to refill my W5. Whenever you first do a refill, it's always going to be darker when you first lay it down. So best to start, if you can, it doesn't always work, but best to start in the darkest spots first, just in case. Doesn't always work that way though. Sometimes every spot is a light spot. That needs a little bit more blending. It's tempting to start placing darks everywhere, but you'll ruin the contrast if you do. All right, let's come over here. Cool. I'll come down here, push my monitor back. See, simple but pretty effective. Let me just lay down some more of this stuff on the rocks. And come around in halo. Just add a little bit of gradation to the form, you know, that, if that's the word. Blend that out a little bit. And the W3 is going to need a refill here pretty quick. Let me go ahead and just take a little break from that. And where's my Heath? Here it is, right here. Let's start shade layer on these little sprite dudes. And then I'm going to take my B00 and make a nice little purple. Very light purple. Blue over pink. Creates a, you know, a little purple but with shades of blue in there, which is nice. And then I'm going to shade that with the C3, which is a cool, I don't mean cool as in, it's pretty awesome. That's cool grade 3. If I can find it. No, it's right here. Sweet. So I need to refill it though. All right. There we go. And then we'll do that again for this guy. Sometimes when you're in the middle of this, you're like, why did I draw so many of these dudes? This is kind of annoying. Let me color these guys and then I'll finish the rock tone. This comes over here. It's time to refill the blue. All right. Oh yeah, C5. C5. All right. And then got the ink on my hands. Definitely tired. I'll finish this slope and then go color that wolf. Let that dry, and we'll start this wolf. Wolfy dude. So I'm going to start with E4-3. Dull ivory. Let's kind of start laying down a basic shadow pass. Told you I like to kind of halo around the edges, work my way toward the center. And then where's my E4-1? I got Brandon sending me stuff. Oh, here's E4-1. Okay, now let me see. Thank you. Hey, Long Arm, what's up, dude? I'm here. Hey, what's up, Echo? Appreciate the kudos. Now I got Brandon calling me. Hey, what's up, Brandon? Hey, I'm on can't hear you. I think your mute's on. Yep. No, that would no. The only thing up there is windows that face in. It's not enough room for people to eat up to. That would be like plannery boxes or something. I'd reference those cafes. Like, just type in Cafe France. You might see some reference of kind of things I'm looking for, or some of that one building I showed you. You can kind of see how some of the stuff's laid out there. Yeah. That's it. Later. Got Brandon working on Game Cave stuff for me while I'm doing this. Game Cave and this being worked on simultaneously. Say hi. I managed to get that happening. It's impressive. Pat myself on the back. Baymax. Yeah. Surprisingly, those little kokichi or whatever, there are some fat ones. They're not all little tiny things. So that one kind of ended up looking like that. However that worked out. Hey, thanks, TK. No, it's all cool. We all get busy, you know. Life happens. Not quite what I'm looking for. B00. I appreciate the kudos on the speed paintings. I'll be doing some more of that. Really for Game Cave, like all the landscape art, I'll stream that. A lot of the speed painting stuff basically became me doing the backgrounds for like these commissions and stuff, the satin commissions. But I'll be doing more true landscape stuff soon for Game Cave. Pretty soon, actually. Yeah, sure, I'll check it out. One second, let me just try and clear out this Q&A. Because like it doesn't filter your guys' comments like in order. Just constantly gets shuffled around for God knows what reason. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a good start. Yeah, I get very confused. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, like I said, it's primarily going to be colored digitally in the background. So I just decided to do this tonal background. So when you hang it up, you got something to look at. Instead of the white highlights to do. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to that tonight. It's pushing 11 though, so we'll see how much I can do. Moving up, he said, moving up in the world. I just think it's gonna look a lot better than if I try to do it Copic's the whole background, which frankly I try never to do. I only did it once on the Darth Maul, and it came out nice, but it kind of wasn't necessary. I just wanted to see what it would turn out like. R20 on the tongue. Over the next year or so, I'm gonna try doing some airbrush for like backgrounds and stuff. But I'm gonna need to start quite small with that. So I don't really know. The digital's working out just fine though. VO1. E4 3. W5. I appreciate it, Kyle. Yeah, it's gonna look really nice, especially it's hard to describe, dude. I mean, you're gonna see, but the metallic print really will bring out. They look badass, bro. That's all I could say. Like my normal prints look pretty good. Um, I've never had any complaints, but it's gonna look really nice. Especially it'll be cool because you'll have like a nice three-step, or work in progress. Like you'll have the line art, you'll have this, and you'll have the metallic to go with it. Yeah, I had to practice this weekend because I haven't colored any backgrounds in like a month or something. So I had to like warm up. I don't like warming up on people's commissions. I prefer, you know. Like I figure you cats pay for the best, so like to. I mean, I'm not me, but quality work, So just want to make certain that. But it's coming up pretty cool. I mean, people seem to be happy, so I won't lie. That I was a little nervous. I was like, well, I don't know, man. How do you really, you know, how do you really illustrate Miyazaki? I mean, guy's perfected his whole thing. So I thought sort of a Disney take on it would be pretty cool, and a little different. Well, I enjoy the process. I do enjoy the work. I don't enjoy doing a ton of commissions. You know, especially like with Game Cave and all the art I have to do. But being able to put a lot of work into some good pieces. Especially with these Copics. I mean, there's nothing simple about doing Copics and digital backgrounds. Like, there's nothing. There's no quick way around that. But the end result can be quite. It'll look like a full like painting. Doesn't look like digital art. Looks like somewhere in between. It's really nice. But it's also cool to be able to stream it all too and get all that working. I mean, I quit like live stream about a year and a half ago, just so all this stuff would work and my videos could be streamed in HD. A lot of people didn't like when I quit live stream, like, oh no, live stream, that's where all I'm at. But they want me to pay like $500 a month for that. So being able to put HD videos up on the YouTube and never have to worry about them being deleted was always part of like the commission game. Like, people buy commission, they'll be able to like get this, and then because it's stored up on there, then I can make the speed videos, and you've already seen that with the line art. There's a real pain to try to do that with live stream because I had to record. I had to stream and record simultaneously, and that didn't work out. I was trying to do two different computers at the time, so I had to think that not just the cost of the art, but people also get like a nice little experience to go with it. The digibooks part of it's just like a bonus, really. The concentrated, like, hey, here's how I thought about this. Here's what I was thinking when I did this, which isn't always possible, with videos. Beats freelancing, put it that way. You know, freelancing, editors, they hate when you stream shit. I'll paint the pupils back in. Yeah, those need a little bit more contrast. Might be time to buy a new C7. Time is it? Oh, it's only 11. That's good. I'll definitely be able to finish the wolves and that other side. Hope I have enough time to do. I'm trying to get to sleep a little bit more on time tonight. I do actually sleep, despite what people think. Like, I studied quite a few of them from the movie, and there's quite a bit of them that are doing that. You just don't see them. It made me laugh. Like this one right here, like that little dude, and like this one. Those are like ones from the movie. This one was like leaning on a rock. I almost like expected him to have like a little cigarette or something. Like, sup? Just chilling in the forest. I don't do all-nighters, but I do generally only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep during the week, which I can deal with. It's not a big deal. My day job does involve drawing and designing, but it's not that big a deal. The only downside is if like I got 3 hours of the night and I run the risk of like on Saturday oversleeping. That can happen. I can end up sleeping till like, you know, 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And that doesn't do me any favors. So I'm not a fan of that. All right. So, hmm. I sell prints through Kickstarter when I get to it. I did like 4 print drives in the last year, so I'm a little burnt out right now on the prints. I'm gonna do at least one more next year. I don't know when. I don't have an exact date for that yet because I'm in the middle of producing art and writing Game Cave, art for Game Cave. But I am producing new art for the prints as well. So commissions first, you know, art for prints and Game Cave and all that stuff in between, and then we'll see. So sometime next year. But no, I don't just have a prints page because uh, I like to group all my stuff together. I'm not good at randomly printing stuff or keeping inventory and then mailing every other night. I'd rather do a 2 or 3 week Kickstarter and group them all together and then ship out that way. Right now, the focus is on commissions and then finishing the last of the stretch goals in terms of the recording, because those take time. I told myself I wouldn't stress about too much of it during the holiday. I'm just assembling all the remainder of the books, and then we'll do all our recording for those. And then as for conventions, right now I'm not doing conventions. I don't enjoy the hustle. I don't enjoy the money they charge, like having to spend, $1,000 of my time basically, in money and going there to hustle to sell prints. It just, I'm not really digging that whole scene. And, getting up there now. And if I'm going to take time off work, I'd rather actually go on vacation, not to conventions. So at some point, I'll probably arrange something like once Game Cave is done and I start to produce that, a book every year. I'll probably start looking at doing conventions just for books. But I doubt I'd be trucking along, my case full of prints and stuff again because it's just the last time I did it, it's just a lot of work. I don't enjoy taking vacation time to do it. I enjoy meeting people though, like that's fun. But I mean, using conventions to hustle like the swap meet, I don't know about that. You know. And then these conventions, they keep charging a ton of money for people to go. So like, people have to spend, 150, $200 on tickets to go to a con. They're not going to buy much at a con, you know? Like, not all my friends who still go to cons, they're like, oh, Rob, it's still important. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how important it is. It's important if you want to like freelance for comic companies, I think. Like I always got my comic book work from going to con, editors seeing your stuff. But I've made more money working from home than I ever did going to a con. So, if these conventions fly me out, give me a table, that'd be something worth doing. But that's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen. They're really like turning into like cosplay and entertainment expos. Yeah, it's a shame because it's not like I hate cons. I mean, going to Comic Con, especially in San Diego, is like that was my Disneyland. That was the happiest time for me. I spent all years saving for that. That's how I started to sell art, because I couldn't get people to pay me to wash cars and stuff, but I could sell pieces of art to people. $1 here. Hey, this is like $1. This is $2, and I'd spent all year just amassing 50, 60, $100 so I can go to con. And if I bought my tickets in January, it was $20 for all 4 days. So spend my $20 in January, and then go to con with an extra $80 in my pocket. Like you could do pretty well as a fan. And it was always my dream to be able to go as a professional, not a professional in the hey, here's my badge that says professional on there, and I get in the door an hour early or some nonsense like that, but to actually go and have books or art and sign it. And that was the dream. And I did get to do that, but it just became so expensive. Like, I mean, when I have to spend 2 grand, like I said, I have to spend 2 grand to make 2 grand. I don't, you know, plus I'm driving through the desert. It's incredibly dangerous. Artists want to hang out, and I have no energy to hang out with artists, you know. So I am looking forward to returning someday, but like I said, in a promoting game cave capacity. Yeah. Or maybe if I go on vacation to another country, I can, and the books are doing well, and I can arrange some, hey, I can come here to your store, and maybe that'd be kind of cool. But I don't know. At this point, I'll probably get invited to a YouTube con before I get invited to a Comic Con. I mean, they don't need me or artists like me. I'm just tired of like every time you turn around, people are trying to make money off artists. They fly cosplay chicks in, but artists gotta pay. You know, I mean, I get flying Leonard Nimoy, that's a draw. But I'm sorry, there isn't one cosplayer in the world that's getting a crowd of people to show up. You know, compared to say a George Takei. That I get, but it's like whatever. I'm out. Drop the microphone. Doo. A legit con. Well, I always say, if a legit con, if you want to know if your con is pretty good, just figure out where the artists are. If they're in the back, it's not a good con. It's my opinion. When I first went to Comic Con in the '90s, they had it so you had the building, right? The convention center was first built. You'd go up to the top, you get your badges, you come around, and you'd have to go through Artist Alley to get to everything else. It was amazing. So that's how I got found all these artists. Then it changed to where you got your stuff on the bottom floor or in advance or this big ass long line, and you go straight into the main hall. You don't even see artists anymore. And so sometimes people try to tell me all cons put artists in the back. I'm like, no, 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 no. Now, this is a recent event. I'd say it started around 2001. You know, so I mean it's not super recent, but it wasn't always like that. But I'm not an organizer. I can't put together a con and promote people. I would just want to make art, you know? Like what we have here, right? You guys hanging out and chatting with me while I draw. This is what I used to do at cons. I used to go there and just watch guys draw, and I'd chat with them and ask them questions about art. So as far as I'm concerned, YouTube is serving the same function that a Comic Con used to. Yeah, it's a good thing to do, man. You know, everything in Hall H will be in a movie theater a year from then. So there's really no point, you know. I think what I will do though is, and I don't know if anyone would show up, but like during Comic Con, I might, make myself available somewhere downtown. Be like, hey, if anyone wants to get a beer or, say hi or something, and you're in town, I'll be here, you know. But there's no way on God's green earth I'm going back to Comic Con unless, someone's paying me. That conventions podcast got me into some hot water too, you know, with some con people, you know. They were like, "It's not the way all cons are." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And I said, "The ones that aren't are doing this and this and that." Is your con? The Phoenix con people didn't like it. Well, we have to charge it because I said, "Well, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I don't have to be there." Well, I work for volunteer, and I'm like, "Great, so you never spent 2 grand of your own money to go, right?" Well, so don't start. you know. I mean, and what upcoming artist, freelance and trying to make their way in the world artist has a grand or two, you know? I mean, I kind of didn't really start to make a lot of convention circuits until like once, like when Tom used to live in LA at Big Dog, I would drive with him around, and that was cool because Tom would foot the bill, you know, and that was really nice. So I was able to get out to a lot more cons that way. Other than that, it was just Comic Con here in San Diego, um, because playing game fan. No, I don't really know who Anthony Jones is. I probably know the art. I just don't know the name. It's kind of like gaming magazines, like I love them. I miss the tradition, I found a way to kind of make my own in a way, with Game Cave, but they're really gone, you know. What we have, and I'm certain someone will come up with something kind of cool, like the guys at PAX, didn't like E3, so they made PAX, but then eventually it will become something. So I'm just not. Someone should do it, but I'm not the guy to organize cons and yeah. Maybe when I get old, like in my 60s, I'll be like, oh, that'd be fun to do. But I have a hard enough time, you know, when I say I'm going to be on at 10, to actually turn the camera on at 10. Sometimes I get caught up in like Arrow or some shit. Robot pencil. No, I'm not familiar. I'll look it up. I wish I followed more people, but it's been really difficult the more I make my own stuff to keep track of everybody, and it can get in the way. You can start to see what everyone else is doing and start to feel like, you have to compete with the entire internet, which I always talk about. It's like a really bad habit for artists to get into. And I've done a pretty good job the last few years of like just mentally tuning that out. But, if I'm not like if this is taking longer than it should, or if my writing on GameCube slowed down because I got stuck on a chapter, I find that's when I start looking at other people's stuff, and then I start telling myself, "You suck," like you're not moving fast enough. It's just years of bad freelancing habits. But I definitely support artists being in charge of cons, because that's the only way it's actually going to work, I think. If artists are in charge of cons and it's artists who give a shit about art, then I think that's the best way forward. And I think there's equal room for everything, drawn art, costuming, all that stuff. But when it turns into like, you know, a reality TV show and it's got a big rave and it's got, webcam girls everywhere and shit and it's I don't need that, you know. Well, I think that for it to make sense for artists to go, the price for people getting in should be good. People shouldn't have to spend an arm and a leg to get into the con. Uh, I don't know how you market a convention, very well. I think you have to have really good, communication with retailers and grassroots shit. I don't think they should charge artists for tables. If you really want my opinion, I don't think artists should have to pay. You know, we spend money on art supplies, we spend money on prints, we spend money on printing books. We print. I mean, if you're now if you're a business, like you're gonna set up a whole thing with a company, that's one thing. But artist alleys and shit should always, you know, I just don't think people should be spending $250 on an artist alley table, because you can just start there and just triple it. They probably spent close to $1,000 by the time they're done. The worst ever, the worst, and I'll show you. This is the best. While this dries, let me see, where is it? Here it is. Damn. Let me grab it. All right, I got one of them. Where's the other one? I'm never going to get this back, so I just kind of hold them on to remind me of the incredible waste of money. I got the other ones around here. Probably just slip back. But I got two of these things. It's back there. I don't want to go crawl around for it. I'll show you what I mean. So this is one half of 450. This is $900. This is $900 for Comic-Con International 2006. All right. I wonder if the date's on here somewhere. It's 2006 or 2007. Date 2007. This was for me to get a small press table because I couldn't get any artist alley booths, and it was $900, and there was no guarantee I had the table until the very last second, and they said it wasn't available, so they would send my money back. It took a year to get my damn money order back, and then by then I couldn't get Western Union to refund this, even with the power of attorney and everything else. Couldn't get my money back. So it's $900 on a con I never got to go to. You know, I spent years trying to get my money back from Western Union. It's not happening. So is Game Cave something for the gamer crowd? No, 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 no. And looking at the Game Cave Kickstarter, the way I'd set it up, is probably not the best idea. Game Cave is a it's a light novel. Um, it's a light novel that takes place in a JRPG world, and it features this place that they happen to have a gaming store and magazine. They import Earth games, and it's really not about gaming. It's about this other universe that adventures occur, and they have VR technology, so everyone kind of plays games and they live in this VR world, even though they live in a fantastic world because they don't want to die, so they play games and shit like that. So it's got tons. It's like a cross between a concept art book, a RPG book, and a gaming magazine. The gaming magazine components are excerpts from the history of Game Cave because the magazine had been around for 30 years. So there's different. I took the history of gaming magazines, so there's different layouts, the different styles of layouts, uh, and then excerpts. So, and it's a universe. So there's other stories I have that are completely different that take place in the same universe along different time periods. So anyone can enjoy it. If you like anime, fantasy, you know, if you like, you know, my art, you know, anyone can, a lot of comedy, a lot of adventure. So uh, it will be made available. I'll take it once I ship this version out to customers sometime next spring or summer. Um, I'll then go back to Kickstarter and I'll relaunch it so people can really see what it is. Because when I first did it, it was just going to be a gaming magazine that featured fictional characters. Because I didn't think I could write the thing as a book, but that's what I'm doing now. So I can do that. It's the best solution I have to drawing comics because I have no desire to draw comic books ever again. So I'm kind of done with that. But being able to write my own novels and put concept art and maps and landscape paintings and character designs and pinups, it's pretty cool. The book after Game Cave will be Justice is Served, which has nothing to do with gaming at all. It's really a take on superhero stuff, but it's in the same universe. So, and this would all be out right now if I didn't have to go back to having a regular day job, but that happened. So, but yeah, it's not a magazine. It's not, you know, it's a novel. And the backers have been incredibly patient with my situation. So, but I've got 10 years worth of stories and shit to tell. So, and these aren't like difficult things to read. It reads fun. It reads like, it's not hardcore stuff. Chapters are like no more than 4,000 words each. So, but yeah, I had the hardest time trying to explain this. So it'll be easier once it's complete and I have art and it'll just to run through. the what the hell it is properly. That's got Sky Pirates. Oh yeah, I love Ogre Battle. Tactics Ogre, really. Yeah. You know, the tactical RPGs were always my favorite because I'm a big chess guy. So like Shining Force, you know, it's got airships and stuff. You know, yeah. I'm hesitant to say, if you like gaming, you like this because I don't like hardcore gamer culture too much. Um, because there's a lot of drama involved with that. But I do like games. I mean, I was trying to tell people like I grew up with gaming more than comics because I didn't have access to a comic shop. So a lot of the art that I collected came from like Nintendo Power and strategy guides and I love Final Fantasy Tactics, the Dragon Warrior series or Dragon Quest. I did try to write this stuff as comics, but I hired a writer. I had all the world stuff broken down and what I wanted to do, and my kind of stories are just too complex for comics. You know, like you can't tell Harry Potter in comic book form. You'd have to trim out like 98% of those books. Comics are really just the shorthand, unless you're going to produce hundreds and hundreds of volumes. That'd take too long to draw. you know, like that's just not happening. Yeah, there was Ogre Battle 64. Tactics Ogre was really more my favorite, which was the precursor to Final Fantasy Tactics. But I mean, I like everything: Zelda, Blaster Master, retro gaming. I love gaming magazines. That's why I worked at. I mean, working at Play was one of my most favoriteest things ever. Probably the best job I ever had. And I worked in a toy store when I was a kid during the Nintendo 64, PlayStation era when I was little. So um, it's just the setting for this happens to be at a gaming store slash magazine thing, and there's this virtual gaming tournament that the employees enter, and the owner of Game Cave hires a freelancer, Sky Pirate, to lead the team. And she's not a big fan of gaming, virtual gaming. She prefers living in the real world. But she's got to take the job. So, but I didn't think I'd be able to put down. I mean, a lot of these are ideas I've had for since like 98, 99. I just didn't think I'd be able to actually write it. So I initially just said, "Oh, it'll be like a retro gaming magazine," And then when the shit went down with Josh, I just decided to say, look, if this is going to take me forever, I'd rather just, you know, create the thing that was in my head versus creating the thing, you know, to get this done so I can get on making the thing that was in my head. But the goal is to do one big book a year and then one tiny book a year. So starting next year. So first I had to learn how to write a book. You know, that took a little bit. Luckily, I've written for years. I just stopped writing because I had to learn how to draw. The new podcast covers a lot of that in great detail. What I had to do to kind of get this all to work. And now I got Brandon making 3D models of the backgrounds for me, so I could start to lay these out based off my sketches, and then I can go do a high render drawing and digital painting, amongst a few other things I got I'm working on. No, I don't need any more help. I'm pretty good at this point. The biggest thing is just, you know, just getting the story down. Like, I refuse to just be like, oh, look, I'm just gonna write the scene because, you know, I just want these characters to do some, you know. There's just a few logical things that I'm learning how to do. Like, there's a scene where they finally all meet, you know, and and I had it all worked out structurally and in my first rev outline. But the reality was is when I got to that scene, a few things had changed, and I had to figure out like uh, how relevant some of those initial design, structural design choices were. And then I had to figure out what each character was actually doing every day, because in Game Cave Land, they operate on 36-hour time, 36-hour days. So then I had to go and create like a work schedule for every main character in the book to figure out what the fuck everyone's doing. So when certain things occur at that point, I'm like, okay, so this person's here, you know. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's like I really didn't even think about it, you know, to be honest. You know, it took a couple hours, gave me a headache, but worked that out yesterday. And then tonight I was just there's one character, Chili. Uh, I hadn't touched her in a while in terms of designing her prose, her writing style, or her text or speech, and she's changed the most since last year. So it was a matter of trying to figure out what her voice is. So I was spending tonight doing that after work. I spent at least 90 minutes a night on it. Um, and I try to spend at least twice a week doing an extra 10, 10 to 12 hours on top of that. But yeah, the world's not being destroyed though. It's just they live in a 36-hour work cycle because that's what I wish. I did the math a long time ago. I'm like, the problem isn't I have a lot to do. The problem is there aren't enough hours in the day. If we had 36-hour work cycles, I could get 8 hours of sleep and still have plenty of time to get all my work done. So, and the world is really based around employment. Like they have whole religions based around, being employed and corporations, and the difference between being an employee and freelancers are sort of looked down upon, and so it's a very work-oriented universe. So I'd say it's pretty detailed. You know, it's been worth the effort, and being able to just supply it with art and designs, you know, and being able to put a few gaming layouts in there on top of all that is sort of like kind of icing on the cake. Because that was the hardest part. Initially, I thought it would just be a game magazine that would have sections in between chapters that were story based, which was kind of fun. The reality of working that out proved to be a little bit more challenging. So I started to think, well, what's the point of the game magazine component? And then I just went and wrote a timeline for Game Cave that dated all the way back to basically the first issue of Nintendo Power, like that being the inception. So uh, then I designed I did about 5 or 6 different versions of Game Cave throughout the years based off styles of gaming magazines. And then once I had all that history laid out and then all the editors that were in the book and everything else, then I was able to say, okay, I can take these games and say this game came out. If it's Street Fighter 2, it'll be the arcade game, and that's from 1990, 1991. So that would be from this era of Game Cave. And if I pull out an NES game, say Mario Bros. 3 or Mario Bros. 2, that would be from, this era of Game Cave. And if it was, Street Fighter 4, it would be from the modern era. So it would look like this now. So I can sort of simultaneously tell the history of game magazines in a very small, fun way. Because those kinds of gaming, the enthusiast ones, I'm not a fan of the, you know, ultra serious game magazines. Like I like the ones I kind of grew up with. Those are gone, and they're not coming back. And the ad revenue model is dead. Um, I don't care what anyone says. I lived it, for 3 years almost. So anyone who's pursuing that model is just on borrowed time, including Game Cave. It does eventually affect them. So I don't want to get into it too much now, but yeah. You can read an excerpt, Kyle, if you're that interested, on my DeviantArt page. I put up the first chapter in its current revision. If you're interested in checking it out to see if it would appeal to you. By the way. Let me get these guys knocked out. What do you think about ads in comics? I think they should all be placed at the back of the book. I understand if you need ads to sell to help cover the cost of something in that model, but Spawn and those guys used to put ads in the back of the book. You know, personally, I hate them, but I'm not selling ads. If you want to know, just going straight to consumers. And if I do the work myself, you know, then I only have to pay me. So, but I think it's ridiculous now. You buy a comic book from DC, the paper is thinner than anything I've ever seen printed. It's almost like the ads from Toys R Us back in the 90s had better paper. It's the worst I've ever seen in terms of quality. They're filled with ads, and usually you get like a third of the comic now. They throw in some filler for another comic you're not interested in. And then now they're polybagging. They go free with digital issue, and they polybag a copy, a comic that has a coupon code in it. It's kind of a joke. I mean, when I can open up a like Brigade is from Image back in '92 is printed on better paper than what's coming out on Justice League. I mean, that's just bullshit. Sorry. So that's horseshit. So I always waited for the trade just because the paper stocks were better. And then Green Lantern comes out and defaces every DC comic cover there is by putting a giant Green Lantern banner. You know, I just don't like it, Sam. I am. Like I'm just not excited by American comics. And for quite frankly, I never really have been. I always like the indie scene. It was always hard for me to get into Batman and stuff, the comics, because nothing of consequence ever occurred. I like the Elseworld stories. I like the Dark Knight Returns. I like Gotham by Gaslight because I felt like things could actually happen in those books since they weren't continuity. They'd hook me in with like a Gotham by Gaslight, and then I'd go buy a copy of Batman, and the art's half-assed, and it's filled with checklist ads from comic book companies and mail order. I'm just like, I don't need this shit. And I never minded the indie guys like selling some ad space, but put it in the back of the book, you know. But in the middle of the effing story. And when I worked at GameFan, all the gaming magazines, all the gaming companies, all their advertising dollars dried up, and they dropped any kind of ad people that they had and started to filter those things out to ad agencies. And they didn't want to deal with indie press. So it was always like Sports Illustrated for kids. So they came up with this idea that I would design ads, as a service. Oh, you get an ad in there and we design it for you. You don't have to pay for it. It's free. And so then I started designing ads, and like hearing all the bullshit things that would come across my desk from these people. You know. So I've made those ads, advertorials and posters and you know things that are tied into covers and having to take a million different little character art pieces and turn that into something, or taking gaming screens I've captured on my own and turning that into stuff. Oh, let's see, it's 12. I think I got time to do the whites. What now? Hey there, hold on. You there?
Yep.
Brandon?
Yes.
All right. Brandon joins us.
Yay.
Yeah, you.
Um, Couple quick questions.
Hmm.
I could save it as a 3D file. Do you want me to do that and just send it to you, or do you want me to just do a bunch of screenshots of different angles?
No, no, you send me the SketchUp file.
SketchUp file. So, because I've never, I
You
would
just
just say,
save it as a SketchUp and you send me the file.
oh, because you have SketchUp. Okay.
Because I have SketchUp.
Okay.
It's a free program.
Right. Um, I think because I got to a point where it's like I don't know what more I could add, so it's like I should just send what I have, and then you'll make your notes, and then I can go from there.
Sure. 1 second, Kyle's got a question. I'll answer this. Pretty good question. Let me select this. On the darkness video, when you were prepping for the background, you digitally colored in and darkened the highlights, but then added highlights back in digitally. What does that process gain you over keeping the original highlights? I'll explain it to you. The original highlights are just for the person who bought the art. If I wasn't like that pops the art back out for the person who's hanging that on the wall. Um, Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother. Uh, I would just add in the highlights digitally. The reason being, the highlights in that I add digitally are colored to the lighting in the final piece. The highlights that I add on the paper are white. They don't match up at all. So when you just keep the white highlights over a darkened background, the point of taking the this piece goes in. This is white, right? Nice white background. This goes into a color tinted background as a multiplied layer. I then duplicate the characters that are going to be colored out and airbrush them back in naturally, so I can build a deep dark light source and create actual pools of light around the character versus flat pieces of color to insinuate light or little highlights. Then I have to go and darken all the whites to the tinting of that scenario because in this case it'll be yellowy with blues and stuff like that. And then I go and rebuild and sharpen and clean up all the edges because uh, it allows an extra point of refinement that maybe if this were on a piece of canvas, someone would do with an actual, paintbrush or acrylic. They'd go back over the edges and make everything else nice and clean. I don't really have that luxury here because it's more of a transparent medium. So again, the only reason why I do the initial white highlights is for this final piece of art. So when it's hanging up, you can see it and go, wow, I can see all the lines. Those are really great. It looks nice, which you'll see here in a minute. But you can't just keep that once you tint the background. It ends up looking like there's a bunch of I don't know, there's a bunch of white out. Looks like there's a bunch of white lines in your piece. So the trick was to get good enough at it so it doesn't add too much time to the process. Does that make sense, Brandon?
Yeah. Also, when you say airbrush characters back in, that's when you do the mask,
Yeah,
correct?
I mask them back in. I'm sorry,
Right.
we used the airbrush tool in a mask, but yeah, I mask them back in.
Okay.
So I'm not actually airbrushing additional color. Like,
I got two things real quick.
mm-hmm.
One on the crepes.
Crepes. Yeah,
Yes, crepes. Uh, I added this cool, the top of the steeple that goes up to the roof, the slant.
yeah.
I added a cool border that I really like. That I don't know if you'll like it, but it stands out and it just looks very fancy and cool to me. So hopefully you like it because I was when I did it, I was like, I like that. So hopefully you as
That'd
well
probably
like
be the
it.
thing I hate. So we'll
It
see.
will, yeah. I shouldn't have said anything. And then now you'll be like,
See
I
how
get
that
freaking
works. You
excited
get all
about
excited and then I find I don't like it. We'll see. I
that.
mean, I'm not just drawing over it, you know what I mean, or
Right,
coloring directly on what you did, you know what I mean?
right,
It's using that as a basis. I
right.
would like to get closer and closer to,
Hmm.
that sort of thing, but so
I
over time. Hmm?
second, I got really excited today when I was thinking about how cool it would be down the road where I really get good at 3D modeling and I could 3D model like Bombcat and it gets made into like, I don't know, vinyl figure or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that would have to be ZBrush.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, I get good at other things like that.
Right.
And
Yeah, we could 3D model her out. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that'd be so, that'd be the
Like
coolest
making
thing.
your own toys, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the coolest fucking thing ever to think about.
I told you, there's all sorts of things I think you'd be good at that you never thought about. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it helps having, I think, like me, right? Because
Oh yeah, because that, well, I
I
was
can
thinking
make this
of
cool shit. Like,
right. I was talking
yeah,
to the wife about it, and I was like, just think about, them and their game suits that you have, like the suits when they're in the world, they're
yeah,
battling, and I'm like just 3D modeling the back pieces, sticking out the pipes, and I was like, oh, that just looks. I was like, that's so cool.
yeah. That's stuff I can't really do. That's why when you're like, oh, it'd be so great if you had like a. I'm like, you even said it before. If these were toys, I'm like, I can't make that shit. Then I get all annoyed with you bringing it up because I don't want to think how cool it would be when I can't make it.
All right,
And you see why I started to get like annoyed with that, right?
right,
Because I mean, you're just talking about cool shit I'm never gonna get to see. Unless I hire someone and have to pay them a ton of, you know what I mean? I mean, look, if we make money, we all get paid, you know?
right,
Otherwise, we're making it for ourselves. Like, that shit's dope, you know? But yeah, if we can model it, build it, get a vendor, and then that can be part of the, hey, Kickstarter, you can get this fucking vinyl model, you know?
right.
And absolutely, bro.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know?
see why not. I mean, it's just like, not to bring him up, but John Galloway, his last Kickstarter had, little put together, like it came in like three pieces, I guess. I didn't buy it, but
Well, he's got
little
a nice, talented
figurines.
pool of friends
Yeah.
to hire from and bring in on projects, you know?
Who needs a large group? Two-man team.
Well,
Yeah.
it's large if you consider circumference. Zing. So,
Mhm.
give me a second. I gotta grab some water.
Yep.
You know, Josh, I've already seen what that looks like. One person did do some Bombcat cosplay. You know,
Well,
I'm not against cosplayers. I love costuming. I used to go to con dressed in Star Wars outfits before that shit was popular. I mean, the only people who went to cons were Klingons, and you're like weirdos, man. But right around when the first Star Wars books came out, Heir to the Empire, I got all excited. Started making my own lightsabers and going, and I loved it. My only problem now is, you know, they're not putting artists in. These guys are just programming cosplayers, you know, and not giving artists seats, and that bothers me, you know. So when I have to pay, 900 bucks to get a small press table, but a bunch of cosplayers, with some Facebook likes, get comped everything and flown out and given hotels. You know what I mean? I can't help but be a little bitter. Like, get your own comp.
right.
And I say cosplay is big enough. There should be a cosplay con. I just think people would be creeped out by it if it were labeled cosplay con. You know, won't be that way in 10 years, but I think the word cosplay to the average public right now has the same connotation comic books did in like the 80s and 90s, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the case. I mean, there's some really awesome stuff out there, but I don't know, man. It's in transition period, whole thing. But people dressing up as my characters is the highest form of flattery there is, I'm totally all for it. So give me 1 second. Cosplayers are pretty interesting groups of people. Like there's that whole taboo about girls who draw comics, and it's such a big deal when girls actually draw comics, and it's just a man's world. I'm like, how many male cosplayers get their own table? When you see a male cosplayer, you're like, oh, sorry, excuse me, that's weird, right? Like, unless they're Rorschach or Deadpool or a Transformer. But when you see a guy in spandex running around, it's pretty tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough on the eyes. you know? And I've had some male cosplayers like dress up in my Spider-Man designs and stuff.
Hmm.
That's a trip, you know.
Right.
And you see that. But the cosplayers are funny. I mean, I was hanging out with one back in 2010 when I was first kind of realizing how big that scene was. And it turns out that the American not American in terms of them being American, but the girls who cosplay as American comic book characters, say comic book characters, they think the anime girls are weird. Thanks for hanging out, DK. Like they're just weirded out by them, you know. And the anime cosplayers hanging out with them, they think the American girls are like wannabe strippers. Like I just think that there's a tremendous documentary waiting to be made somewhere, you know?
Right.
Like, like tremendous, you know, just a one hell of a one hell of a documentary waiting to be made. But I do like when you see guys dressing up. Like one guy pulled off. I saw one guy pulled off the outfit, the Final Fantasy IX Vivi. The guy looks kind of like Orgo. So it was
Uh-huh.
cool when they pulled that kind of stuff off, you know.
Right. I we transferred you the SketchUp file.
All right.
Whoo! I'm gonna end up with an ulcer.
Oh yeah, dude. The BlizzCon people are the best. Like they got that shit down to a science. What were you saying, Brian?
I said I'm gonna end up with an ulcer.
Why?
Just unnecessary stressing.
Went over the model?
Just everything over it. Just wanting to do it right.
Well, you stick to the plan that I gave you. It won't be an issue.
That's I know. Would make for a hell of a story though. Like if I if not saying it won't, but let's say this all goes according to plan, and then it's like, well, how'd that all start? Well, I sat next to Rob at a con and bugged the shit out of him for a couple of years, bought a bunch of art, then eventually taught, became friends, and here I am.
Well, that's on you, bro. You know what I mean?
But yeah,
Because
I was talking to, well,
I'm
'cause I was talking
sticking to my plan.
to,
What were you saying?
Jessica was just, she was asking, she was like, yeah, I think I know how you guys kind of met and stuff, and then she was like, well, when did you guys like start talking, like, on Skype and everything? I was like, well, I really don't remember.
It was when I started going out there with Tom.
Okay.
Because that's when I'd start to see you. Because I stopped going. Because Wizard World folded.
Right,
So
folded, yeah.
I only saw you like on Facebook here or there. But it was when I would see you at, cons with Tom.
That's right.
And you're like, oh yeah. So I was starting to see you like 3, 4 times a year,
That's
for
right.
about a year before he moved away. That was fun times. And that was when I worked at Game Fan, so I could just take off for the weekend or in the middle of the week. Didn't matter, you know.
Right.
And those were fun times. Tom was like, I gotta move. I'm like, fucking dick. Right when I make friends.
Was he living in
Yeah,
California?
he was living in LA. And so he was making that trip across the desert. And he was like, be nice to have some company. I'm like, yeah, cool, man, I'll go.
Was he like in Michigan now or somewhere? Like
something like that, Chicago or something like that.
that's a big change.
Yeah, his wife got a new job out there. She's all into like she's like some lawyer, hotshot lawyer.
Mm.
So, but I was like, oh, really, dude? We're finally on a roll. You know, I'm just a road trip guy. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right,
I didn't even care about going to the con. It was just cool to finally go, and it felt like the first time I was actually doing the indie thing. And was meeting a lot of cool people, and seemed like something I wanted to do at the time with all the cover art. But I mean, what we're doing now is what I would pitch this to Tom, the exact thing, you know,
right.
and he would just tell me how it wouldn't work because of, basically because of Diamond, you know. It's like it will never work because Diamond will never. They don't like this kind of stuff. So he's like, so long as you can find a place that you could ship it and you never have to worry about Diamond, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about retailers. I said, no retailers, no Diamond, enter Kickstarter. I found it. I found something where I don't need a distributor and I don't need retailers.
That's another person I gotta thank. This all works out. Like, yeah, thanks for not everyone
It
else.
wasn't that he wasn't interested in what I had to do. He was interested in anything I had to do.
No, I didn't mean him. I meant like Diamond people who would
No,
sign
Tom
up.
was always very good to me. Like I don't have any complaints about Tom. You know, Tom's good people. One of the few. He's horrible fucking taste in movies though. But
That from what I've seen on his Facebook posts, I agree.
I'm the guy who would go, you hate everything, Tom. He kind of like that Star Trek remake. I got him to admit that was good. That was about it. I told you the only reason why shit didn't get done before with people is because it just wouldn't come through. It's really that simple. You know. And it was hard to motivate myself. Like even the original version of GameCube when it was just a magazine back in like 2011, 2012 with with James, he just wouldn't write anything, you know.
Right.
And he's admitted that many times. So I'm not throwing him under a bus. And it's like I don't know what to do with that, dude. You know, I can't write game reviews. I'm not playing the games. And that's when I decided that if I ever do GameCube, it can't just be a game magazine. Because who the fuck cares about game reviews?
Right.
You know, the game reviews just have to be fucking crazy to read if they're in there. So like, I have monsters reviewing games, you know, because they're freelancers. The Muppet Show.
Right.
Rad always like hires people who work for dirt cheap.
That's why I'm on board.
I'm giving you a free college tuition if you really think about it. Only difference is you'll actually be ready. You'll actually have a skill when we get through with this first project, you know,
Right.
and something to show for it. You know, plus the other shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is where that potential for revenue comes from.
Oh, water.
It has to be worked out, bro.
Yeah, it will be.
You gotta start. I was looking at that post you made with the watercolor sketchbook. You start using watercolors. First thing I gotta give you some advice, man. You gotta thin those down, right?
Hmm.
Dilute the chroma, which is the saturation, and throw in a little like burnt siennas and stuff into your colors when you first start out to neutralize. Siennas will neutralize.
Hmm.
They'll dull down the saturation. You know,
Hmm.
like throw in chroma as like a wash at the end, like you know, to kind of build up. You go like right for the most saturated colors from the very beginning.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know,
mean, like, yeah, I'll do that on the next year's book. I think with this one, it was this whole book thing was just been a just something that made
yeah, I
me
hear you.
want
I'm just
to
saying
sketch
when
something
you
today.
lay down with that color, dude, you're just gonna lay some down. Just throw a little sienna in there. You know,
All
start with
right.
some more neutral colors, and you can build up some chroma as you know to contrast to pop stuff out.
I have some. I'll use those then.
You know, but you go right for like saturated color quickly. You know, it's like, dude, I have no doubt it'll play really well like in Argentina. You know, anywhere they sell pinatas or some shit. But it's like, just chill out. You know, and I'm a guy who uses color, so think about that.
Yeah. That and I just don't. I don't even know color. I just
Yeah, I can say that. I'll help you learn, but that's going to be time in. First thing I can do to give you some advice is just tone down the saturation. You know, let it
all right.
dry, come back. You know, like a day later, and then figure out where you want to pop in some key wash. You know,
Well, see, that's the thing. It's a daily little mini sketch.
great. So come back a day later, and
Well,
you know,
that ruins the part of doing it that day.
Brandon, it doesn't matter. You know, like what's 1 hour? You know, you want to see real improvement, or you just want to keep making books that look like that?
Well, this was mostly just for like,
I know. I'm telling you, the art got better. Like I could see you've been working on your perspective and you're drawing like dudes three dimensionally. I'm telling you how to become a better painter.
I
You
get
know,
you.
so you work in that daily sketchbook. But hey, you know, if you need the extra day to edit what you did, if it needs it, right, before you add the saturation, give it a day. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, fuck the rules of a daily sketchbook, bro. What the lords of fucking sketchbookdom are gonna come down and smite thee? You
Hmm.
know, because you took a second glance at it.
I know. I'm just fighting it with my brain.
Here's the thing, dude. And I learned this like even doing t-shirts. Like I did this whole piece the other day. I had to like do this whole ink piece. It's hard in one shot to be an illustrator and then a designer. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
To sketch something and then paint, then to do it. You're not just gonna gain that skill, you know, by doing a lot of it. You're gonna gain the skill by stepping back and then putting on the painter hat. You see what I mean?
Right.
Like so, sketch it one day, paint it the next. You know, or paint it one day with low saturation, let it dry, and then come back and as warm up, tweak it. You know, that could be your warm up. You know, so instead of you know 52 pieces, you'll end up having like 45. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
Or if it's daily, instead of having fucking 30 pieces a month, you got 20. But you know something, dude? They're gonna look a lot better. You know, and you'll have control. You need to learn control right now.
Now I'm a madman. Ugh.
Well, I know that. I could tell. Like I've done the mad tear through sketches, you know. So believe me, I know. Mm-hmm. Gotta figure out how to get you logged on to that game. I don't think you're gonna have the whole thing downloaded. Um, Go to Kick-Ass and look up a Lich King torrent.
To kick ass.
You know where I usually have you go.
All right, and then you said Lynch King.
LICH. I gotta get my Battle.net account reactivated, so I'm gonna try to hack into that shit a while ago, and I just haven't.
It says there's one like World of Warcraft 333 Lich King easy
There
install.
you go.
16 gigabytes.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Start now. How many seeds?
One.
Shit. Find something more than that. Because even if I got it, I could get you in my account. Um, it's not gonna be set up by tomorrow. You know, it'll actually be faster the other way around. So we're a big pain in the ass. So, like I said, I have to go through
All of
and
them
get
either
my
say
account
one or
reactivated.
zero.
Huh?
All of them either say one or zero on the seed.
Well, then grab one and we'll see where we're at tomorrow. And then I'll have to deal with my Battle.net. I'll have to call them up. Because I've been using my wife's, but I don't think she wants you logging into her.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I'll just save this to my hard drive.
At the very least, we can get the vanilla gaming one because I have that hooked up already on mine. If that doesn't go down, then I'll have you download this other one. They have it set up to where it was when it first launched, and we can just use that. But I'll have to see if that'll work first.
But, hit allow on it, right? Yeah, allow.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit the blue arrow, right? The blue down arrow when I.
I hit the magnet.
Oh,
Just the one I always hit.
I didn't hit the magnet. Let's go back. Shows how much I use this stuff.
I know. I gotta call him tomorrow to get my shit reactivated. And then I'll just work that into the budget so you can log into that down the way, you know?
Yeah.
but it's been on like my. Oh, I'll get around to that for a year now. I've just been using my wife's account,
I hit the
but
magnet, but nothing happens.
then just download it and open it in your software.
The blue one or the regular one?
Whatever, dude. I don't know, man. Until it works. All right, figure it out.
All right, well, you're talking to a person who never torrents anything.
Yeah, wait, we'll just figure it out.
Never.
I can't. I'm a little busy right now. If you
All right.
notice.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Going with it.
It's a temporary solution anyway until I can get my shit back up. Tomorrow's kind of a busy day at work, so I'll also have to do it on the weekend. And I'm gonna have to get that stupid activator app on my phone. So these are just people's servers that half the time they delete your shit, but it doesn't matter for walking around.
3%, 4%.
That's good actually. It was cool to log into the original vanilla WoW. I
I
did
have
that
no,
last week.
I have
The
no
way
idea
when it
what that
launched in
means.
2004,
Okay.
because it's changed so much since then. It's crazy to like look at.
What the hell? Okay. Popped up and said that those files
I
were
got them running around Warlords to take photographs of stuff to model for practice, for stuff for modeling practice. So I gotta get him actually into the game proper. But in the meantime, and get him on a fan server until I get my account squared away. What are you saying?
it said file was corrupted.
Great.
Stop.
I'll see if I can't upload my vanilla up to my Mega. Ah, shit, I can't do it tonight. I got family staying in the living room. Fucking pain in the ass. Real pain in the ass, bro.
Worst case scenario, just because I'll be leaving Saturday anyways. You could show me on Monday too. I
Yeah, that's true.
don't know.
I gotta work on a budget so we can get it set up so it's there.
Right.
You know. It's just I've been playing Diablo 3 on my PS4, so I really haven't had the need to get my Battle.net
Right.
account worked out.
That's why Jessica don't play Warcraft anymore. She's on the Diablo kick, but she plays it on the computer. And I don't play any of that nerdy shit.
Shut up, mad motherfucker.
Right.
You'll be playing Zelda.
Yeah, that's true. That I can't deny.
You can just grab a high def video, and screen cap a few things and see if you can't try, you know,
Mm-hmm.
until I get that worked out.
That's fine.
Hey, Josh. Josh Shelby. Yeah, I worked out the shit. Josh is the other Josh is he's working on a repayment plan with me. So, but yeah, it's. I mean, I had the funds to take care of what had to be done, but it came out of my savings. So, and I had to go get a day job. I've covered it pretty extensively, and I don't want to beat Josh up anymore over it. So I don't mind airing my dirty laundry on the internet. It's just the shit I've kind of squared away. So I just don't.
Dirty London.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, but like I talked to Josh recently, and I'm like, dude, just you know, we've been through a lot together, so give him the opportunity to make amends. And I don't know, maybe just 'cause I'm getting older and I don't have time to fight anymore. You know what I mean? It's like I just want to move on. So I always said like. I even told him, I said, well, it just seems weird that it went down that way. I mean, he has my art tattooed on his neck. Like, it's not like I'm the guy you can just ignore. Like, so, but yeah, it definitely set me back a bit in terms of just time schedule and the job and everything. So, but everything's getting done. People just the backers, unfortunately, they've had to wait. Time has been the issue, and I hate being that guy who has a Kickstarter that is taking forever. But taking a while, you know, for this is better than you know. I mean, I did have another Kickstarter. I just this T-shirt one that he did that I just did the math and it was going to cost me more to print it and ship it than it would to refund the Kickstarter. So that came out my savings too, you know, and I refunded it. And so, but Game Cave it's good to go. It's actually not that expensive in terms of all the printing and shipping. It's really just the time to do it right, you know. So, but I appreciate all the support out there, and please don't go emailing Josh and getting you fucked Rob. I don't need to. Please, no one do that. You know? He and I have squared that away. It was just a bummer to have to go back to t-shirts. It was also a little bit like, look at Rob. Rob's got to eat some crow. The Jew was too good for shirts. I was like, I'd like a t-shirt job, please. I got so used to working from home. That was nice. I could take a walk every day and not have to get up and deal with traffic. But boo-hoo, right? Yeah, no, no, don't email. You there, Brandon? Brandon? Oh, no, Brandon dropped. Uh, Actually, Josh, it's their direct competitor. So if you go back to like one of my other podcasts where I talk about if you're going to quit your job, go work for their direct competitor. So yeah, I'm still making Marvel stuff just for someone else now. Ironic as that seems. And the crazy part about it is the people that work there are people that used to work with me at the place I left. They apparently quit when I left because they were tired of that place too. And then they went to the direct competitor. So somehow it all kind of worked out. It's kind of weird actually. But
So I'm back.
yeah, what happened?
So it said potential threat blocked for whatever, and then it shut my computer down.
No, that's just that bullshit you got, dude. If it sees a fucking crack, right? Some kind of thing, it'll register it as a virus, and it's not. Welcome to the shit that is Windows 8, bro. You know?
All right.
I fucking hate it. I'll square it away. Don't worry about it. You know?
No biggie.
There's a way you can turn all this shit off, but your girl's got like default everything on that computer, and it's stupid. They got user access control turned on, all that bullshit. That don't do nothing to protect you from anything. Like, just gets in the way of productivity.
Right.
I love every time I log on your computer, it's just a wall of icons. You know? Horrible.
How we rule.
And you're like, I neither confirm nor deny. I don't want to.
I'm not gonna throw myself under the bus.
Don't, yeah, you're like, I have to live with this situation. Like,
Right.
you know,
I hear your opinion, Rob, and I value it.
I get it. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds.
That's not what the hand does. I made myself laugh.
Good for you.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then I come back to Marvel, having been off it for like a year and a half, and the whole fucking landscape has gone kablooey. You know, like you can't use any X-Men characters, you can't use any Fantastic Four characters. I mean,
Nothing,
you just took
Sony.
away half the fucking style guide, bro. You know?
Right.
No Deadpool.
Really? Oh,
Really?
because Fox is gonna probably make the movie, right?
It hasn't have to do. It has to do with. I don't. They won't give a clear answer. Like, you know, it has something to do with it, but I mean, that's why I believe the whole them probably getting Spider-Man back on some deal. And I think since they can't make a deal with Fox, or Fox doesn't want to for whatever reason, then they're shutting them out. You know, of any potential. And I don't know, man. All I know is, you buy a license, you don't expect to lose half your fucking. You know, like there's only so many Captain America and Spider-Man shirts you can make. You know, like you take
Right.
Wolverine out of it and Deadpool. I mean, come on. You know, and the villains too, dude. You know, like Fantastic Four wasn't a big seller, but Doom was. You know,
Yeah.
if you don't have Doom and Magneto, how many villains do you have to use? Venom.
Loki.
Mm, eh. You know, it's tough. Very
Yeah.
tough. Like, then they give us a style guide filled with MODOK and Damaramu or whatever
Or
the fuck that shit is.
or like Claw now in the Avengers 2 movie, maybe. Uh,
You know,
and
but
then
those
put
are
Claw.
all movies, and you can only sell those for so long. You know, and movie
Right.
shirts never do the numbers that classic art will do.
All in know is my favorite villain's coming to a movie soon, and they'll probably mess it up and break my heart. Apocalypse.
Well, they got a good actor.
Yeah.
And Bryan Singer seems to make decent X-Men movies. I mean, they're not really the X-Men we knew, but you know what I mean. Like,
Right.
they're not bad.
I still thought I still liked First Class. I like his directing, but uh,
Yeah, but Future Past was pretty good. You know, I mean, it wasn't. They didn't fuck it up. And at least you saw X-Men characters doing team-based things. You know, so it's not just a Wolverine show. But it was nice having a movie where he really wasn't even in it. you know. Yeah, that Windows 8 interface is horrible. I said it. You kicked off again, Brandon? He's not responding. He may have been kicked off again. Yep, kicked him off. That's not good. It means I'm gonna have to fix his computer. I'm probably gonna have to do it tonight. See, the white highlights really help.
I'm sure it's gonna cut me out again. It keeps popping up saying potential unwanted program blocked. Then it says prevented a potential unwanted program from running.
You gotta turn off that fucking shit, dude. Like, I don't have the ability to go on there and fix your stuff right now.
All right, it's fine. I mean,
It isn't. It's all nonsense. And I don't want to get you in trouble because I know it's nonsense. You
all
know.
right. Well, I mean it's fine because it's 2 a.m. and I gotta be up in 5 hours, so I figure I just go
I
to
can
bed
fix it
anyways.
tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I'm gonna head to bed because I gotta be up in 4.5, 5 hours. Um, so cool. Yeah, just check out the
Well, just
sketch.
get started on the interior tomorrow night then. All
All
right,
right, that's fine.
and we'll do with the further modeling when you get back.
All right.
All right.
Yep, sounds good. All right, I'll talk to you
All right.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Man, the whites always bring it together. Yeah, but when you look at the player models for like Warlords compared to, I mean, the game has come so far. I said for years though they should have player housing, and they're like, oh, you know, they'll never do it. There's no space on the server. Now you get a whole fucking garrison. The one thing, like, I'll tell you right now, I would play Warcraft probably weekly if in the garrison all I want is a trophy room. So any armor I collect, I can put them on little mannequins and dress them up with my armors and stuff I collect. That's what I want more than anything. I had it in Oblivion through a mod, and that was my favorite thing to do is to go out there and collect shit and then put it in my trophy room. These will need a little bit of tweak. These lines, they're a little too pronounced. But you can pull them back once it dries. You can put Copic right over it. So those need to be pulled back. That was probably not a good idea right there. Yeah, it's awesome. That's why, when you get these different tiers of armor, you can then start to collect it, you know. Get some cool weapon, you modify it. This doesn't sit in a treasury box or get dismantled. You can actually have a place to put all your stuff, you know. Same with Diablo. I'd love to have a trophy room I could put all my shit in. Watch the walls fill up with cool pieces of armor and swords I've collected throughout my adventures. But yeah, there was this mod for Oblivion that added a trophy room to like any hideout. So I'd get the base hideout, the little shack, and it would add this thing. You click on it, and then you can go in there, and it had a place to put all the items for spells and stuff, and it was in order. And then it had a big trophy room with mannequins you could dress up, and glass cases you could put in daggers and shit. It's pretty awesome. And the armor in WoW looks so cool. All the swords and stuff, and the shields and the plates. It'd be great to have that in there. Well, you know, Josh, that's the thing. Like, none of the other markers do well. Um, do you use watercolor at all? Right, because laying the color down is very similar to watercolor. Like, since it's kind of a transparent medium. Um, so watercolors are pretty cheap if you want to get used to laying light and then making things darker before you invest in that. What I could recommend you do if you don't want to go that route is to just invest in a set of grayscale markers and then colorize the grayscales in Photoshop till you get a handle on the Copics. And then slowly like just pick a character like say the Hulk, so you only need like three or four green, like two greens, a yellow, and a couple purples. So you can go and spend $60 on markers and then, sell a commission with it, you know. And with the grays you only need to go like odds or evens, 10, 30, 50, or 20, 40, 60, 80, so forth. But I had done so much watercolor that making the jump to this really wasn't that big a leap for me. It's kind of like natural. I knew how to make a lot of my own colors by just mixing, so I was able to get away with like, less, a just a third of what I have now. The markers I have built up over the last year really just came from knowing what I wanted with specific things and then, using the commissions to pay for the markers. And I've just been slowly maintaining that supply since. It's not as hard once you have the initial, stuff to choose from to maintain it. As long as they're turning in money, but if they're not, if it's just you like making cool stuff for yourself, the easiest way would be mess with grayscales and then colorize it. Which a lot of people do. I mean, Mark Brooks does a lot of that, you know. Well, you get to sell it. You know what I mean? I mean, I wanted to have something I could sell physically in color. Yeah, it would definitely work with watercolor before you do the markers, just because it's super cheap and you'll be in the habit of like that workflow and being able to deal with transparent. Because a lot of people inherently don't take to the transparent medium. They're like, they like to throw down opaques and build up like Photoshop, right? I would just recommend when you're using markers to start off with small picks. Like don't start off with an 11 by 17, you know? Pick something that's kind of tiny, 5 by 7, so you're not spending a ton of marker on each piece, Just scan it in at a high res and blow it back up. I mean, that's what I do with the watercolors, You know, the Avengers were painted at 11 by 17, but everything else was like tiny pieces, like the Godzilla's like CD cover. It's the size of a CD cover. But you scan it at 600 dpi and you get those really cool big chunks of watercolor texture. But I figure the cost of markers, for me is I'm paying to not have to wait for shit to dry. If I was using acrylic or something like that. Because between the markers and Photoshop, I can attain anything I want, and it look pretty painted. You know, I mean, I've printed out the Copic stuff, like the Star Wars on canvas, and I mean, it looks like it's painted. It doesn't look. You know, and I'm not waiting for that stuff to dry. With the watercolor, I get, because at least I'm getting that cool watercolor stuff. The Saucy's way different. It's just a completely different look. No, the Godzilla is the size of a CD cover. It's because the watercolor is like a fractal. So when you blow it up and throw a little bit of sharpening on there and just the levels, you get to see into all that texture. all the watercolor texture. And it scales up really nice. Same with the turtles pieces. The turtle saucies were 8.5 by 11. All the Batmans were like super tiny back in the day when I did those. The only saucies I've done that are 11 by 17 are the Avengers and a few of the commissions. I find they actually work better smaller. Not to say I wouldn't take on a commission, maybe for a saucy at that, but I don't know. I mean, they're a real pain to do at 11 by 17. It's just a lot of coverage and the time it takes to dry and everything. Oh, super sweet. Yeah, I'm already starting to think about some new saucies coming up next year. What's the? Sorry, Kyle. Your stuff doesn't always end up at the top. I have to scroll down to see. What's the largest I've done as a commission? The largest I'll do is 11 by 17. I'm not going to go any larger than that. It has to do with the way I transfer stuff down on paper. Anything larger than that, I have to start using giant brushes, and it's just not a process I enjoy. So I spent a long time thinking about canvas and stuff, and if I were to do that, I would probably do everything you see here, print it out on canvas, and then continue opaque painting on something like that. But for now, the largest I do is 11 by 17. You know, all my favorite art growing up was made at these dimensions, so I figure it's good enough. The Dark Knight Returns can be made at 11 by 17, and I figure it's big enough. Kyle. Oh no, no, dude. Yeah, the Avengers pieces got made. I canceled the Kickstarter, but I told everyone to go to the PayPal when we did that, and they went to PayPal, and we got that shit sent out. So I just took down the Kickstarter and did everyone went to PayPal. So it looks like it was a failure, but kind of wasn't. Yeah, the only thing I'd say about the moleskins are when you apply is the paper is a little weird. You can get this really weird, like, I don't know. There's this weird texture that bugs the shit out of me when you apply water to it with the Copics. I don't know. If I were going to use a Copics, I would just get one of those B marker paper things. That would be my opinion. Little pad. But you may not care about the bubbling thing. But for me, I hate it. I don't like it. It's almost like the paper gets acne or something. I don't have a very good description of it. So good, dude. Get some sleep, bro. Thanks for hanging out. Am I anticipating more than one issue a year? I'd call it a novel, not an issue, because he probably isn't here now. I anticipate 1.5 novels a year. One game cave side quest and then one newer story that takes place inside. That's the goal. I want the characters to age in real time. So if it takes 6 months to a year to come out, the characters have aged 6 months to a year. Well, I think the white highlights are done. Oh, wait, there's one character I forgot. Cool. Well, there you go. Ready for digital color. Clean these back up. Clean that back up. Oh, wait, shit. One other thing. Yeah, can't wait to wrap up. Tie it all together, right? Appreciate the support, Kyle. Truly. Okay, so that. So we got the line arts, and then the Copic colors, and then next step, digital color. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I will be back on tomorrow night.